Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today, inshallah, we're going to solve Cambridge exam, October-November 2021, paper 23. Let's start. Question 1. Brownian motion and diffusion of gases provide evidence for the particular nature of matter. Which row identify an example of Brownian motion and how molecular mass determine the rate of diffusion of gas molecules? Brownian motion is the random motion of a particle suspended in a fluid, and the rate of diffusion of gases determined by the molecular mass. The lower molecular mass has the highest rate of diffusion. So here the answer will be B, boiling grain in water seen to move randomly, and the diffusion, lighter gas molecule diffuses more quickly. Question 2. A student put exactly 25 centimeter cube of dilute hydrochloric acid in a conical flask. To measure exactly, he needs a pipette. Then he adds 2.5 grams of solid sodium carbonate. That will be measured by a balance, and he measured the change in temperature, which of course will be measured by thermometer. Which apparatus does the student need to use? The answer is C, balance, pipette, and thermometer. Question 3. A student separates sugar from pieces of broken glass by dissolving the sugar in water and filtering off the broken glass. Here we will have the broken glass on the filter paper, and the filtrate will be sugar solution. So what is the filtrate? The answer is D. Question 4. The nucleus of a particular atom consists of 19 particles. These 19 particles are protons plus neutrons. 9 of them are positively charged, so protons are 9. And 10 of them are uncharged, so number of neutrons equal to 10. Which statement about the nucleus is correct? The nucleus has a proton number of 9. Question 5. Which description of brass is correct? Brass is an alloy of copper and zinc, so the answer is A. Question 6. Group 1 element combined with group 7 element to form an ionic bond. Which row shows how electronic structure changes? Group 1 element has 1 electron in their outer shell, so they form positive ion by losing this electron, and the electronic configuration after the bonding will be the first shell 2 and the second 8 after losing this electron. Group 7 element have 7 electrons in their outer shell. They form negative ion by accepting 1 electron, so the electron configuration will change to be from 7 to 8 after bonding. The answer is C. Question 7. Which statement describes the attractive forces between molecules? Molecules are formed between covalently bonded atoms. So the bond between the covalently bonded molecules are weak forces formed between the covalently bonded molecules. Which diagram shows the outer electron arrangement in a molecule of carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide formed between 2 oxygen atoms, forming double bond with 1 carbon atom. Remember that we have 2 lone pairs of electron around the oxygen atom, and the double bond formed by sharing 2 pairs of electron between the carbon and each oxygen atom. So here we have 2 pairs and 2 pairs between the carbon and each oxygen, and 2 lone pairs of electrons around the oxygen. Question 9. Aluminium oxide is an ionic compound containing aluminium ions and oxygen ions. Aluminium hydroxide is an ionic compound containing aluminium ion and hydroxide ions. In which row the formula of the aluminium oxide and aluminium hydroxide are correct? Of course, by exchanging the charges between oxygen and aluminium, the form will be Al2O3, and between the aluminium and hydroxide ions, the form will be AlOH3. The answer is A. Question 10. Effervescence is observed at the negative electrode during the electrolysis of concentrated aqueous sodium chloride. Which element is produced at the negative electrode? Of course, at the negative electrode, sodium ions will not discharge because sodium is highly reactive metal, so protons will accept 2 electrons to form hydrogen gas, and hydrogen gas will be discharged at the cathode, and the answer is B. The energy level diagram for a chemical reaction is shown. From the diagram, we can see that the product at higher energy level than the reactant. That means that the reaction is endothermic. What statement about this reaction is correct? The reaction is endothermic and the energy is taken from the surrounding. So the answer is B. Question 12. Chlorine reacts with ethene to produce chloroethane and hydrogen chloride. This reaction is exothermic and the bond energy are shown in the table. As you can see, first we will calculate the bond breaking. We have 1CH and ClCl bond. So the bond breaking energy is 650 kilojoule per mole, and the bond forming HCl and CCl, the bond forming energy is 770 kilojoule, and the energy change is the energy needed for bond breaking minus the energy released from bond forming. It's 120 kilojoule per mole, and the answer is B. Question 13. What is the concentration of solution when 31.8 grams of sodium carbonate is dissolved in water to make a solution of 250 centimeter cube? The concentration is measured by mole per decimeter cube, so we have to first find the number of moles of sodium carbonate, which is the mass divided by the molar mass. We have the mass, which is 31.8. The molar mass of sodium carbonate is 1.6, so number of moles of sodium carbonate is 0.3. Then we will convert the 25 centimeter cube into decimeter cube by dividing by 1000. It will be 0.25 decimeter cube. The concentration will be number of moles divided by decimeter cube. The answer is 1.2 mole per decimeter cube. The answer is C. Question 14. A fuel cell is used to generate electricity. Which chemicals are used in the fuel cell? We are using hydrogen and oxygen in the fuel cell. The answer is B. Question 15. Sulfuric acid is manufactured using the contact process. One of the reaction is shown. Oxidation of sulfur dioxide gas to sulfur trioxide. The forward reaction is exothermic. Statement 1. The equation has more molecules on the left-hand side than on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, we have 3 molecules, and on the right-hand side, we have 2. So this is correct. We have more molecules on the left-hand side. Using higher pressure, shift the equilibrium to left. Increasing the pressure, shift the equilibrium to the direction of less number of molecules, so it will be shifted to right. This is wrong statement. Statement 3. Higher temperature increase the rate of reaction. This is of course correct. Increasing the temperature increase the rate of reaction. Statement 4. Increasing the temperature shift the equilibrium to right. This is wrong statement because increasing the temperature in exothermic reaction shift the equilibrium backward. That means to the left side. So here we have only 1 and 3 is correct. So the answer is B. Question 16. Iron 2 chloride solution react with chlorine gas, and the equation is as shown. Which statement about this reaction is correct? Here we have the formula FeCl2 that indicates the presence of Fe plus 2 ions, and here the formula is FeCl3 that indicates the formation of Fe plus 3 ions. Changing the oxidation state from plus 2 to plus 3 means increase in the oxidation state, so it's oxidation. Which statement about this reaction is correct? Here we have Fe2 ions are reduced. This is wrong statement. Chlorine act as reducing agent. Of course not, because Fe plus 2 ions didn't reduce. Fe plus 2 ions each loses 1 electron. This is correct. And the chlorine molecule are reduced to chloride ions. This is also correct because the oxidation state of chlorine decreased to -1. So we have 3 and 4 correct answer, and the answer is D. Question 17. Excess dilute hydrochloric acid is added to equal masses of powdered calcium carbonate in 2 separate experiments. Here we have the hydrochloric acid is in excess and calcium carbonate equal mass in both experiments. Two different concentrations of hydrochloric acid are used. The temperature in both experiments is the same. The results shown the change in mass of the reaction flask measured over time. As we can see from the graph that the mass of the reaction flask decreased by time as we lose in carbon dioxide gas. Of course, we have the same mass of powdered calcium carbonate, so the amount of carbon dioxide gas will be the same, and we will reach the same mass at the end of the reaction, but the higher concentration of hydrochloric acid will have a steeper curve, faster rate of reaction than the lower concentration, but at the end we will reach the same mass. Why the rate of reaction of the 1 mole per decimeter cube of hydrochloric acid is slower? It is slower because it is more diluted, so we have a lower collision rate, but of course because we have excess hydrochloric acid with the same mass of calcium carbonate, so at the end we will have the same collision energy, and the answer will be D. Question 18. Basic oxide are neutralized by acidic oxide. Which element form an oxide neutralize calcium oxide? Calcium oxide is a basic oxide, so it will be neutralized by acidic oxide. Acidic oxides are non-metal oxides, so here we have sulfur forming sulfur dioxide, which is an acidic oxide, can neutralize calcium oxide. Question 19. 4 solid oxides are added to dilute hydrochloric acid and aqueous sodium carbonate. Which row describe amphoteric oxide? Amphoteric oxide is the oxide that can react with the acid and a base, so it will react with the hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide, and we will have check marks in both columns, and the answer is A. Question 20. Which row describe an acid and an oxidizing agent? Acid is a proton donor. An oxidizing agent oxidizes other substance by accepting electrons from them, so it is electron acceptor, and the answer is C. Question 21. A period of the periodic table is shown. The letters are not their chemical samples. Which statement is correct? Element R doesn't conduct electricity. Element R is in group 1, so it's a metal. Of course, it will conduct electricity. Group 1 metal conduct electricity. B. Elements R and Y react together to form ionic bond. That's correct because Y is in group 7. It forms ionic bond with element from group 1. So R and Y form ionic compound. Element Z exists as diatomic. Element Z is in group 8, exists as single atoms. And element Z react. This is of course wrong statement because element Z, noble gas, it's inert. So the answer is B. Question 22. A part of the periodic table is shown. Which pairs of element J, K, L, M, and N react together to form a product with a ratio 1:1? Here, again, take care that the answer in both columns should be correct. Elements in group 1 react with element in group 7 to form ionic compound with a ratio 1:1, and elements from group 2 react with elements from group 6 to form compounds with a ratio 1:1. So here the answer will be D, 1 from group 1 and 1 from group 7, and in the other column K is from group 2 and M is from group 6. Question 23. Which property is shown by transition metal but not shown by group 1 metal? Transition metals have variable oxidation states, and that is not shown, of course, by group 1. Group 1 only have one oxidation state, which is +1. Question 24. The noble gases are in group 8 of the periodic table. Which statement explains why noble gases are unreactive? They are unreactive because they all have outer shell, full outer shell of electrons. Question 25. Which statement is correct for all metals? All metals conduct electricity when molten. This is of course the correct answer because all other answers are incorrect. They gain electron, of course not. Metals lose electron, and they are having high density, not low density, and high melting point and not low melting point. Question 26. Chromium is more reactive metal than iron, but less reactive than zinc. So now we have chromium between iron and zinc. Which statement are correct? Chromium doesn't react with dilute hydrochloric acid. Of course not, because it's more reactive than iron, and iron reacts with the acid, so chromium will react with dilute hydrochloric acid. Chromium oxide is reduced when it is heated with carbon. Yes, it will be reduced by heating with carbon, because zinc, which is more reactive than chromium, also reduced when heated with carbon. Chromium reacts with zinc oxide to form zinc. This is incorrect statement because chromium is less reactive than zinc, so cannot displace zinc from its oxide. Statement 4, chromium reacts with steam to form hydrogen gas, and this is correct statement, so the answer is 2 and 4. Question 27, aluminium objects don't need to protection from corrosion. Iron object must be protected from corrosion. Which statement explains why aluminium resists corrosion? We know that aluminium resists corrosion because it forms a protective oxide layer on the surface of the metal, so the answer is C. Question 28. Which statement describes how oxides of nitrogen are formed in the car engine? Oxide of nitrogen are formed due to the high temperature in the car engine. Nitrogen and oxygen from the air react together to form nitrogen oxide. Here the answer is nitrogen from air react with oxygen from air. The answer is B. Question 29. Ships are made of steel, an alloy of iron. Blocks of magnesium are attached to the underside of the ship to prevent rusting. Which statement explains how the magnesium prevents rusting? Magnesium is more reactive than iron, so it will oxidize instead of iron or in preference of iron. So the answer is A. All other answers are incorrect. Question 30. Which process is used to produce hydrogen from the Haber process? For the Haber process, hydrogen is produced by reacting methane with steam, and the answer is D. Question 31. One of the steps in the manufacturing of sulfuric acid in the contact process is shown. Which is the catalyst used to increase the rate of this reaction? The catalyst here in the contact process is vanadium oxide, and the answer is D. Question 23. Lime, calcium oxide, is used to treat wastewater from factories because wastewater is acidic and calcium oxide is a basic oxide. Which substance is removed by lime? The substance removed, of course, it will be acid, so the answer is D, sulfuric acid. Question 33. What is the structure of propanol? Propa means 3 carbons and ol means 1 hydroxyl group. So we will count the number of carbons. Here we have 3 carbons and 1 hydroxyl group, so the answer is C. Question 34. Fuel X produces carbon dioxide and water. When it is burned in air, so does fuel Y. So both X and Y are hydrocarbon because hydrocarbons burn in air to produce carbon dioxide and water. So we have to choose hydrocarbon in both columns X and Y, and the answer will be D. 35. What is the main constituent of the natural gas? Natural gas mainly formed from methane, so the answer is C. Question 36. Which state describe the members of homologous series? They are compound with the same physical properties. This is of course a wrong statement because they have a trend of increasing or decreasing physical properties. They are compounds containing the same functional group. This is correct answer. Compound containing the same number and type of bonds. This is wrong. Of course, number of bonds and atoms are different. Compound obtained from the same raw material. This is of course a wrong statement, so the answer will be B. Question 37. The structure of 2 compounds are shown. Both compounds having the same molecular formula, C3H6O2. Which statement about this compound are correct? They have the same molecular formula. That's right. By calculating the molecular formula, we will see that they both have the same molecular formula. They have the same chemical properties. This is wrong because the one on the right is carboxylic acid and the one on the left is ester, so they have different chemical properties. And statement 3, they are structural isomers. Yes, this is correct because they have the same molecular formula but different structural formula. So we have 1 and 3 are correct, and the answer is D. Question 38. Some reaction of substance Q are shown. Substance Q, when we add steam under pressure and catalyst, ethanol is made. And when we add bromine, 1,2-dibromoethane is made. So substance Q is ethene because when we add ethene, bromine water to ethene, 1,2-dibromoethane is formed, and ethanol is formed by catalytic hydration of ethene, adding steam with pressure at catalyst. So Q is ethene. Then hydrogenation, adding hydrogen with the catalyst to ethene. Substance B is formed, and B is ethane. So what is B? B is ethane. The answer is A. Question 39. Proteins and starch are natural polymers. Which row identifies the method of polymerization of protein and starch? Protein and starch, both polymers, formed by condensation. So we have to choose condensation from both columns, and the answer will be B. Question 40. The diagram shows the partial structure of pterylene. From which pair of compound it is made? Pterylene is a polyester. It is formed from 2 types of monomers. The first monomer is dicarboxylic acid, having carboxylic groups at the both ends of the monomer, and the second monomer is diol, which have 2 hydroxyl group from both sides. So as we can see from the highlighted monomers, this is the diol monomer, it's here, and this is the dicarboxylic monomer, so the answer will be A. Here we come to the end of our exam. Like the video and subscribe to the channel to receive all the updates. Thank you for watching. Wish you all best of luck.